Oh, so it's the second time I'm not in Berlin for this game, but today, Cologne at home, another relegation candidate now. We won last week in Paderborn. Kind of makes you optimistic we could do it again. 2-1, 3-1, something like that, because Cologne, they struggled a little as well. Oh, the light's gone bad. But can we do it? 3 points. We go 12 above Bremen, probably be safe if they lose to Dortmund, which I would assume that they will, please. And also, we would go 9 clear of, well, maybe even 12 clear of Dusseldorf because they're playing Freiburg and that's a tough one as well. We can do it. So, please, let's go. Come on. Shit. This weekend we had the opportunity to go 12 points clear, considering if Bremen lost against Dortmund, which it would be assumed that they would, of the relegation place, direct relegation place of 17th. Paderborn, they had Bayern. We were like, Friday night, Bayern won 3-2. Okay, great opportunity, because Dusseldorf have a tough game in Freiburg. Guess what? They won. Bremen did lose, but this was the opportunity to go above Union by 3 points because they have Frankfurt on Monday. And guess what? Hertha were Hertha. Start with the Paderborn game because although it wasn't perfect, it was better than the loss against Mainz. Now, we were playing without Mr. Klinsmann because Uncle Jurgen decided to bugger off somewhere else. We did wish Mr. Nuri good luck before the game, but of course Nuri is the tactician. He is the one running things in terms of tactics and how you play. But the starting 11 for the Paderborn game worried me to start with until after the game when I realised he had played the certain formation the way he had for a reason. Now, Paderborn, very, very, very strong in terms of pace in the midfield and up front, but have basically a second division defence. Kind of the reason that they're probably going to go down is because of that poor defence. That said, they score goals. They love to control midfield. They love to score goals. They are so quick. They even scored twice against Bayern, twice in this season. Both games against Bayern finished 3-2, home and away. Now, their home form is poor, but that doesn't matter. You know, our away form is way better. I don't know why. Maybe it's the pressure of the Ostkurve coming onto them. Shouldn't have been making that an excuse, by the way, because guess what? We're your fans, Mr. Nicholas Stark. Yeah, we'd appreciate it if you appreciated us. That said, okay, away game, not easy against Paderborn. They are quite strong in terms of their pace. They give defenders some problems. So the setup, I believe, was weird. I mean, we had Peter Pekarik, who's not played a game all season at right back, but he actually did a decent job. He's very reliable, and he always has been. We had Maya Askasiba in there. We had Wolf blocked for a second yellow, so double yellow card, red card in the previous game against Mainz. So obviously Pekarik took his place as a wing back. So it was a 3-5-2. Piontek, Cunha, they did well together because that Paderborn defence struggles against their sort of pace. Cunha did a lot of good things during that game. But who was on the left? Maximilian Mittelstedt was on the left. Can sometimes be a bit of a liability, but he did quite well in this. And at the back, I don't know why, but Boyata and Stark. Now, Stark was, as far as I'm aware, captain of the team, and Per Shelbred had to go off at half-time, had some problems breathing, so he went off with Derrida. After Derrida came on, it was more compact. Boyata scored from a header. Good header, but until then, we struggled really to get into the game. Paderborn weren't creating anything, but they had what they wanted, sort of the possession-wise, and we weren't really doing much until Derrida came on. It was a bit more push forward, because he's a more of an attacking player than Shelbred is. That said, Shelbred has done some really important things this season, and it was seen against Cologne in the game that we just sort of fucked up. You know, first goal, good header from Boyata. It was well controlled in that back line, but for the, I hate to say it, equaliser, shouldn't really have been an equaliser. Some of the most ridiculous error of judgment from Nicholas Stark I think I've ever seen from a defender. From a throw-in, very quick throw-in, you've got a Paderborn, very quick, like I said, Paderborn attacker running forwards. Now, Nicholas Stark's either not ready for the throw, or he's just not realised that his man's literally scooted off after him. He's running after him. By the time the ball's thrown in, Nicholas Stark is like 2 miles behind him. He's not tracked his man, and as he's gone to put the cross in, I don't know how on earth Jahrstein has done this, but if he is closer to his post by a few inches, he puts that around the post. But he doesn't. And somehow this has been credited as not being an own goal, which is also quite confusing. Ball's been played across goal. Jahrstein's gone to try and hit it out. It's flicked his fingers and gone in. Should never have been an equaliser in the first place. It's poor defending from Stark, but it's really, really bad goalkeeping. We can say, okay, Jahrstein's had a few errors. He had, unfortunately, another one against Cologne. He's not been as consistent this season, and it could be the fact that we've changed goalkeeping coach like 3 times. These players are really unsettled. We've had a coach that, if given more time, Ante Czovic, he may have done better. We were getting better. Then we lost 4-0 against Augsburg. I think he would have been better off being a co-trainer to start with and having Dardai as trainer. And I said that, and I said, we have to move on from Dardai, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe we had to move on from Dardai, but maybe it wasn't Dardai we needed to move on from. Maybe it was more attacking football. Ante Czovic had that idea of attacking football. That was the brand that he wanted to play. Dardai was a defensive guy. Both of them together could have been very, very interesting. And let's come to this second Hertha goal against Paderborn. We did get more into the game, created some chances. A goal disallowed for a handball, quite an obvious one. It was accidental, but very, very clear. Piontek handballed it. Cunha put it in, but it wouldn't count. Cunha 1-1 on goal. 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and you are watching it thinking he is so close to that guy that if he just goes round him and puts it in, that's a goal. But he doesn't. He's too close to chip it, but he still tries to chip it. Signature move from Matheus Cunha. Why? That's so frustrating. Literally, what is he doing? All he has to do is take control of the ball and go round him, and it's a goal. Instead, he tries to be clever. Boom, doesn't turn into a goal. That's it. We did get this one back. So, ball comes in. Piontek has a shot, gets saved by the goalkeeper. It's come back out to him. He's got it on his left foot. Now, he's then taken it onto his right foot. Really good piece of skill. And hit it at the goalkeeper again. It's then been crossed back over to Cunha. Now, Cunha's got his back turned to goal. So, you know, the ball's a bit behind him. He has to improvise, and he does. Back heels it in. But Collins, Paderborn's defender, or I say defender, player, I don't think he's a defender really, midfielder, he's tried to clear it off the line. As he tried to clear it, he's gone to clear it. It should have been cleared because there wasn't a lot of power on it, but he sliced it out of the goal. There was, I don't know if there was spin on it or something, but it's gone in. 2-1. It was very, very, very lucky that it stayed 2-1. Paderborn's pace at times was just too much for people to handle, and Nicholas Stark was actually at the centre of that because he had to go off. I think he had a little bit of an injury worry or something. He went off. Jordan Torunariga came on. Now, why the hell Jordan Torunariga is not starting games, I don't know. By far one of our best defenders of the year, made some incredible tackles that actually saved goals, and another one in the Paderborn game, clean through on goal, puts in a last-ditch challenge, boom, ball goes away, gets pinged around the penalty area a bit, but he does his job. Now, he's better at his job than Nicholas Stark. Why on earth Nicholas Stark is starting games, I don't know, and it was exactly the same problem against Cologne. I don't want to talk about Cologne. I tell you one thing, right? I work at Heathrow Airport. Kid comes through today, and he's wearing an FC Köln scarf. And I sort of stopped him and said, You're a fan of Erste FC Köln? He goes, yeah. I showed him the back of my phone, has a Hertha flag on it. And I just told him, well done. I'm really pissed off. Worst performance of the year. I thought it was bad against Mainz. I thought it was bad against Augsburg, but this was something else. What the fuck was that? I wasn't even watching this game. I was at work and I actually, got to the game started just as I went on my break. Was watching a little bit, it wasn't streaming, but I watched, the little thing on the betting sites where they show you what's going on. My little Ladbrokes thing, and it said 1-0 Cologne within 4 minutes, and I thought, that can't be right. Really? Are you kidding? Let's start with the starting 11 because it was not the same, similar but not the same as the Paderborn game. Now, the approach in the Paderborn game, like I said, makes sense because they're very quick in midfield. Then probably not going to do too much of the counter because they can't get it out from the back to the front. But they like to control their area, build things up. They've got a lot of pace on their wings front. They like that, Paderborn. Cologne are very, very, very different. They've got a new coach. I say a new coach. He's been there a while now. Gisdol came in and he sort of set out the defence. Now, Cologne didn't need to be defensively good against us because we didn't really create anything. That said, they did, but they only created from errors made by us. The starting 11, Jahrstein is normal, but Pekarik couldn't play, injured. Decided to put Marius Wolf back at right back, and he hasn't really done much. There's no reason to warrant that. I would have put Klunter in there. He's a better defensive player. Against players like Cordoba, you're going to need it. For some reason, Stark and Rekic were both playing, I believe, and also you had Maxi on the left. You had Boyato in the middle, so you had 5 or 3 and 2 wing-backs. Now, what use is 2 wing-backs if they're not going to really attack and they can't really defend? They're either too deep or too high, and they're never in the correct place they need to be at the right time. Then you've got the 5 central midfielders. Now, you've got the 3 central midfielders. No Shelbreds. You had Meyer and Grujic. Now, Grujic doesn't warrant being in the starting 11. He's done nothing to deserve it. Not shown anything. Doesn't make any sense to put him there. And usually with Meyer, he's done quite well in the past. But this isn't last season. This isn't a normal season. And Derrida played very well when he came on last week against Paderborn. Why was he not used? He's much better at controlling that midfield. And Grujic is actually at fault for, I think, at least 1 or 2 of these goals that are coming up. Grujic, Meyer, Askasiba. Now, Askasiba, not really his fault. One of the goals, it wasn't really his fault, but it was his foul that led to it. He's been given a job that he's not really supposed to do because when the second Cologne goal goes in, he's in the position he's not supposed to be in. So you're thinking, what the hell is going on here? Then you have a front two of Cunha and Piontek. Cunha was taken off at half-time, and he was probably our best player. I say substitutions under Klinsmann didn't make any sense. These substitutions made sense for the players that came on at half-time, made 0 sense for the players that went off. We played this 3-5-2 again, and I don't know if Nuri knows this, but it doesn't work with our team. I know it's his favourite formation, but if he can't adapt to the squad and what they're capable of, I don't know what he's doing here. Against Paderborn, it worked fine because we got lucky a little bit and also because they were defensively quite solid. But it was Jordan, once again, that saved our asses. Why he wasn't starting, I don't know. And Nicholas Stark, a liability. As captain, some of his behaviour after the game was really, really nasty. Disgraceful sort of things he was saying, but come to that later. In the game, the first goal was a mistake from Marko Grujic, completely preventable. But at the same time, he makes a bad pass going forwards, loses the ball. Now, Hertha haven't been able to counter the counter. Hertha have not been able to defend the counter. The balls come forwards, not relatively quick. Okay, relatively quickly, but not like impossible to stop. Nicholas Stark, when you look at it, John Cordoba is miles from him, but it's his man to defend. When the pass comes forward, Cordoba has so much space in front of him and there is so much of a gap between Stark and Cordoba, the ball's just gone straight through the space and Cordoba's run onto it. By the time Stark gets his tackle in, it's too late. It bounces off him and goes over Jahrstein. There's nothing he can do about it. The problem is obviously Jahrstein is expecting a low shot. He doesn't know that it's going to bounce up off Nicholas Stark's leg and go over his head. The problem is that Stark, if he was in the correct position to start with, would have got his challenge in long before Cordoba had run forwards. If you look at the space, my God, there's so much of it. You know, his positioning to start with is really, really poor. His spatial awareness of what's around him, behind him, is really, really bad. He's not quick enough. He doesn't pick up on it quick enough. By the time he picks up on the fact, oh my God, John Cordoba's through on goal, it's too late. And similarly to the second goal, ball comes in for a header. It's down the wing. Okay, Boyata's holding up his man as best as he can. When that ball comes in, you've got two players in the middle. Cordoba heads it in. It doesn't make any sense as to why Santiago Ascasiba, one of the smallest players in the team, is the man marking this humongous Colombian forwards. Why are they not in the box? Why are they not... They're central defenders. Why are they not defending the two centre forwards of the team they're playing? I don't get their positioning. I understand it's a counter-attack. They're not... Well, you've got to be quicker. As soon as a counter-attack starts, you start to shift backwards into your defensive formation. You don't just piss around as if nothing's happening. And then for the third, fourth, fifth, I can't even remember anymore. The third one, or is it the fourth one? Kainz. I remember Kainz. That was the... Oh, no, actually, sorry. The third one was a little bit stupid for Jahrstein. Cordoba's got the ball through. He's tried to go around him. Jahrstein's got back on his line. Tried to sort of get it away. Shots come in. He's tried to get it away with his leg. It's just been unlucky. It's bounced off the post and gone in. It's an own goal. You can't say anything more than that. Then the fourth one was the one I was thinking about, where it's just really ridiculous. The marking on this one is terrible. Wolf is probably in an okay position when it comes through, but Boyata is only a man in the correct position to prevent this goal from happening. He's marking his man. Now, I don't know if it's Rekic or Stark that's in completely the wrong position. I would sort of guess it's Stark or Mittelstedt, maybe. There is Kainz behind Boyata, and I'm going to say defender number 2s. I'm not sure who it was. When the ball comes across, there is so much space in front of Kainz that all he has to do is run into it and shoot. And that's it. That's exactly what he did. No one is near him. No one has even noticed that he's there. They've got two players on one forward. Boyata's doing his job. That's his man to mark at that moment in time. And whoever is on, it would have been the left. Yep, our left. So probably Maxi or Nicholas Stark. His responsibility is for Dominic Kainz to look at where... I think it's his Dominic Kainz, isn't it? His responsibility is to look at Kainz to see where he's running into. Nobody is anywhere near him. He's just run into complete empty space. And the Jahrstein's given no help whatsoever. That's ridiculous. The fifth one, it's a stupid foul to give away, but you can't stop a free kick like that. Against a team like Cologne, this was completely the wrong formation to play. If we had played with two actual wingers, 4 at the back, 2 wingers, 2 midfielders, one sort of number 10 and 1 forward, it would have worked fine. It's just, it's really annoying that nobody sees that. It's such a simple formation, 4-4-2, shift into a 4-3-3 if you have to. Such a simple formation, and yet no one sees it. Ugh. Okay, so the substitutes that were made at half time. Dodi Lukebakio came on, and Vladimir Darida did also come on, I think. I actually can't remember. I think it was. I definitely know Dodi Lukebakio came on. Now, Mateus Cunha came off. And I don't know why, if you're going to take off a striker, you don't put on a striker. Vedad Ibisevic has had a very good record against Cologne, wasn't even considered. And then Dodi Lukebakio came on, but Maya came off, and he'd played quite well. Okay, maybe he had a little bit of an injury or something. Cunha, they said, had some fatigue. They were 2 of our best players. The 2 players that should have gone off were probably Ascasiba and Grujic. And they both stayed on the pitch. Now, the 2 coming on made a difference. They were way better. We played way better after they came on. The mistake was the 2 that came off. You cannot leave a player that is a liability. Grujic responsible for 2 goals. Cannot leave a player that's a liability on the pitch, and then you end up losing 2 more. Why on earth he wasn't taken off, I've got no idea. Like I said, the formation, it doesn't work against a team like Cologne. If they like to counter-attack, should have really sort of picked that up. That's where they're strongest on the counter. They're not particularly quick, but they're quite clever about it. Just start with 5 at the back if you have to, or start with 4, but you can't start with 3 because then you lose out on the wide areas. The 2 wing backs are too high, they can't get back, and if not, they're too deep. They're both completely lost their man too many times. They're just completely in their own world. If you're going to have 2 wing backs, they've got to be 2 that are actually very, very sensible when it comes to defensive duties, because at the moment, these 2 don't seem to be. I always say, be clever. I actually said last week we played Paderborn, we have to play a different way against Cologne because it's a different team. I don't think anybody really thought about it. Nuri knows how to play one system. It's not helpful. You can't force a team that doesn't really fit into that system to play that system because it's never going to be successful. However, that said, there are worse things that happened after the game and during the game. Some awful things happened, including Nicholas Stark's comments about the supporters not coming over to them. You can cue the rant now because this is going to be a really, 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 really nasty long rant. I was so angry about what he said. I couldn't believe it. How can that come out of a captain's mouth? Let's go over what he actually said, because in English doesn't quite translate, but I was really pissed off about it. Nicholas Stark was the captain of the team yesterday. He said at the end of the game he chose not to come over to Ostrava to applaud the supporters because he didn't want to be, I think the words he was using was something like he doesn't want to be fooled into going over there because he knows what to expect. I think he said he didn't want to go into the Ostrava or go over to them because he didn't feel like he would be well treated. And I just said, you know what, Nicholas, you just lost 5-0 against Cologne. Ugh, of course you're not going to be well treated. Everyone's pissed off at you. This has happened before. It happened against Leipzig. It happened against Augsburg. And do you know something? At the end of those games, the players came over to the Kurve or came over to the away fans at Augsburg, and I believe that the captain of the day was Vedar Ibisevic, right? He was the man that came forward. He took responsibility and he said, okay, I'm going to talk to the supporters and I'm going to apologise for the team playing the way that they're playing, but I am not going to let them down or abandon them. Yes, okay, things being thrown at the players isn't correct and we try to stop that. But when they come over, I remember against Leipzig, I remember Vidar talking to one of the capos, one of the ultras. I remember Zelka sort of standing there nodding, going, yeah, I agree. That is what you need, communication. Stark completely refused to come over, didn't want to talk about it. You need a captain that's going to take responsibility and leadership, and Nicholas Stark is not one. And I have been saying it since the day he got the vice captaincy. He is not mature enough. He is not good enough. Well, sometimes he is good enough as a player, but he's not good enough in terms of attitude. He hasn't got that maturity about him to be able to lead a team. And if anybody in the defensive line is going to take the captain's armband off anyone, if Ibisevic doesn't play, if Shelbred doesn't play, if Plattenhardt doesn't play, then there's only one man that I can actually put forward to say this man deserves the armband because he actually takes responsibility, and that's Boyata. I mean, basically the way that Stark came across was that he was blaming the supporters for their lack of support in the second half, because I did hear they booed them off, they booed them back on. The ultras were saying, do you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to make any noise. Just let them know how you feel by doing nothing. And in a way, yeah, okay, they had a point. It doesn't exactly happen, make things better. There is a Stimmung boycott in the middle of a match, but at the same time, then the players have no excuse to say to us, oh, you should do better. You should support us even when we play shit. Do you know what? We pay every fucking week to come see you play, right? Our good hard-earned money that we make during the week, and the one time we have fun is on the weekend watching you, and you're giving us bullshit like this. A team that is worth now, I think on Transfermarkt we're a minus £87 or £87 million because of the amount of money we spent. This team is so fucking talented. They have so much talent, but they cannot put it together, and they let their heads drop whenever they go down. They don't put in the effort. It looks like they don't give a shit. So if they're not going to come over and say, you know what, thank you for actually coming in the first place, they can just, do you know what, Nicholas Stark can just get lost. Ugh, there's no reason for him to be quite so ridiculous about it, you know. We come to watch this team. All we want to see is some fucking effort, you know, and to say, oh, I don't want to be fooled into going to Kurva, to be booed at. I mean, what kind of fucking child are you? Seriously. If I do my job shit, my bosses, they come up to me and they say, you didn't do such a good job today. And do I refuse to go talk to them about it? Say, what can I do to make it better? Talk to them, communicate, you know? I don't just ignore them, because that attitude is really, really pathetic. It's a pathetic attitude to have. If you play badly and you know it, you need to go over to your supporters and you need to say, I'm really, really sorry. I mean, at least Alexander Nuri actually apologised to the supporters for the piss poor performance. It's just the words that came out of his mouth, they are not what I expect from Nicholas Stark as a captain of any team to say that, because it's suggestible. It suggests that he blames the supporters in part for what happened in the second half. And it's really, really, really bad for your appearance as a captain. And if you're going to do that, I don't think you should ever captain the side again. It's really, as a captain, that behaviour is so fucking disgraceful. For God's sake, please let Vedo be captain, or let someone else do it, you know? Even if you give it to Dedrick Boyata, at least it's gonna give a shit, because he's the only person I see at the moment that actually bloody well cares. That's not where the bad shit ended. It got a little bit worse. How can it get worse? Well, the supporters made it worse themselves. So I didn't know what had happened until someone actually told me, and it started at the beginning of the game. Some idiot in the Ostkurva interrupted the silence for what happened in Hanau, the awful events in Hanau, which saw people killed in a racist attack, and it was a minute's silence for the people, the victims of that attack, and basically a sort of call out on racism and hatred and everything that involves. It was just a complete, fuck racism campaign that was supposed to go out. It was supposed to be a moment's silence for those victims. Someone interrupted it, and it happened, I think, in Frankfurt maybe as well. And they had that moment of silence. When it was interrupted, everyone started to boo and whistle and hiss, and all that started was a chant of Nazis raus, Nazis raus, Nazis out, Nazis out. That was something quite good to see, because you were seeing people stand up against Nazism. That is exactly something that everyone got behind. It didn't get any better after that. I think someone said in the second half, basically what happened was that a fan, maybe a little bit drunk, I don't know, was attempting to stop this little Stimmung boycott. So the ultras said, I don't think it's a good idea to sing, because they don't deserve it, the players. So it went a bit silent, and this guy was trying to start singing and start something up, and a few people around him apparently actually joined in, but he was sort of being stared at the ultras, and they looked at him as if to say, we need to be in this together to show the team that we're not happy. This guy kept doing it, and eventually I think he was pushed further and further forwards in the Ostkurve. One of the capos found him, apparently, or one of the ultras found him, and they started to argue, and a brawl actually broke out between ultras and this supporter. Now, I can understand from 2 points of view here. The ultras should not have started anything. Apparently punches were thrown. That is not behaviour from leaders of a supporters group to be throwing out there. You can't go up to someone and punch them in the face because you don't like what they've done or don't like what they said. At the same time, the guy that actually did this was extremely naive and stupid for even thinking that he could challenge in the first place. And we don't even know what he said. He may have said something that upset them. A lot of people started on him, and I don't know if it was his fault for attempting to do this in the first place. If a majority of people are saying, okay, let's just not do anything, then you will probably be better off not doing anything and going along with it, because they're not doing anything harmful or wrong. But at the same time, you have every right, if you have a ticket for that area, to do what you like with your season ticket, to sing what you like, to say what you like. You have a freedom to do that. You don't have to be controlled by the ultras at all. But at the same time, if you are going to, talk to them and say, I don't like what you're doing, do it in a respectful manner. But whatever was said or done, it sparked basically a punch up and a riot, and the guy was taken away. He was hit. And, if charges are pressed, it's a fucking criminal offence. You see, I don't know exactly what happened because I didn't see it. There was a friend of mine who was there saying that someone got in between the ultras and this guy, and there was children around, and If there's kids around, you can't behave like that, whether you're the ultras or a fan or this or that. If there's kids around, why would you even think that behaving in this way was acceptable? It was just, and it's embarrassing as well. Like, everyone's watching this. Like I said, I don't know 100% what happened. I'm just going on what other people told me what happened. And it's made people lose some respect for the ultras, and also question whether everybody in the Oscorp has to obey their rules. I don't think they have to. I go in there with a season ticket to do what I want. I don't always sing. I don't always jump because I can't physically do it all the time. It really, really tires me out. But that said, like, I've met people very close to those ultras. I've met many of them, and they've never, in my experience, been rude or aggressive. They've been loud and, angry at the Union game. It's natural, but it was never like that. And I think I've got some people who I know who have spoken to them before about concerns they've had with certain ultras groups in the Oscorp, that they don't particularly agree with their politics, and the main ultras said, yeah, we're keeping an eye on it, but it was done in a respectful way, and that's how it should be done. But if someone's gonna really provoke you, although you can say I was provoked into hitting someone, there's no excuse for that. You can't react like that. People look up to you and respect you, and you've just lost their respect. This just really, really bad behaviour. It just made a bad day even worse, because it made us look like idiots. I know there was a small video of this brawl happening, but it was ridiculous, and added to the result, it made things even worse. What can you say about that? If I wasn't there, and even people that were there, not 100% sure exactly what happened. Everyone's story is a little bit different, but I've been asking people, what did you see? And they're just really, really, really pissed off about it. Should we get a new coach? Is it too late in the season for that? Bitte, Herr Pritz. Dardai zurück. Jovic zurück. Bitte! I miss you. I miss you as well. Oh! I'm starting to think we may have sacked Ante Čović a little bit too soon. Not because he was a great coach, he had no experience at the time, but we were still scoring more goals than we are right now. We were playing some better football than we are right now. We were scoring, at least. I mean, we beat Cologne 4-0. We scored 3 goals against Düsseldorf at home. We scored 2 against Paderborn at home. We scored goals nearly every game, but we still leaked them. Now, imagine if we had had a better defensive co-trainer with Ante Čović and this money that's just come up. What could we have done? We could have done something better. That said, could we have done better with Paul Dardai? Could it be that Paul Dardai and Ante Čović would have worked well together? We're never going to know now. We're all saying Klinsmann was not the brains behind this sort of new outfit. Everything good that was done in those few weeks where we beat Wolfsburg, where we beat Paderborn, where we drew 0-0 with Schalke defensively, it went out the window in this game. Nobody knows what happened. And even Alexander Nuri couldn't even explain it. Like, none of the players could explain it. It was like they weren't even there. Whether it was because they were at home and they were under pressure, I don't know. But it just went out the window. Now, Alex Nuri has to learn very, very quickly that this system that he wants to play might not be the system he can play with this set of players, because I don't think Maximilian Mittelstadt and Marius Wolf are great as wing backs. I don't think Nicolas Stark and Kari Rekic should be starting at centre back. If you want to shore up that defence, you need 4 or 5 at that defensive line. You need them there. You also need to plug that gap between midfield and forwards. There's too much space in the middle. What's going to happen? At the moment, we're playing anti-football, not football. This is, people said comparing it to Dardai football. At least Dardai football, there was a little bit of, progression in the midfield. There was no spaces. At least he stabilised the whole thing. At the moment, we've got no stabilisation. Everything, it's like, when you've got a bicycle or a tricycle, the stabilisers come off and then you can't balance. That's exactly what this is like. Personally, if I was Michel Pritz, I'd start looking for another coach now, because as much as I like Nuri as a person, and I think he got it right last week, if he can't adapt to the teams around him, because he should have analysed Cologne, under Gisdol, not just in general, but under Gisdol in particular. He didn't. He analysed Paderborn perfectly, did it very poorly against Cologne. So strange that it happened like that, but that, you know, if he loses against Dusseldorf, if we lose against Dusseldorf on Friday, I think that's him done. And the only options we have right now are coaches like Dardai and Labadia. Now, people say Dardai won't come back yet. Too much of a thing with Preetz. It's not the point. If there's a lot of forgiveness, fans want him back, then it might work. Maybe. Put Alexander Nuri as a co-trainer. Why not? It might work okay. Maybe even have Ante Czovic as a co-trainer. But I'm starting to feel really sorry for Ante Czovic right now, because there was two factors about Pal Dardai and Ante Czovic that made them very, very special as coaches, and that is that they love this club. It hurts them like it hurts us when they lose games. When we lost 4-0 to Augsburg, Ante Covic's heart was breaking, and you could see it, and it was an honour for him to be this coach. Someone like Jurgen Klinsmann has come into this job, screwed it up, like a wet tissue, and just thrown it in the bin. Ante Czovic would never have behaved like that. And that is something that you have to respect that man for. Even if he didn't do great as a coach, he didn't do that badly. But, you know, at least there was some heart in there. If Nuri doesn't get it right on Friday, which I'm hoping he does because it's an away game, and Dusseldorf are not great, although they just beat Freiburg 2-0, why is it that Freiburg always play badly when we need them to win? I don't get it. At the same time, Cologne, whenever they played teams, the teams they played had to play really shit on the day that they played them, just like we did, just like Wolfsburg did, just like Freiburg did. It was always the same. I don't know what everything's going their way at the moment, but in terms of this, Dusseldorf played Freiburg, and Freiburg struggled at home. Dusseldorf don't have a great home record. If we got a draw over there, I'd be okay, because if Bremen lost in the same week, we might be all right. Dusseldorf then have 3 relegation candidates in a row. Paderborn, Cologne and Mainz. Mainz lost 4-0 today. How the fuck did we lose to Mainz 3-1 and they just lost 4-0 to Wolfsburg away, but we beat Wolfsburg in Wolfsburg? How the hell does that happen? Like, this is how crazily fucked up this season is. Okay, so that's going to happen. Do we need a new coach? Well, we've only got 2 or 3 options. Dardai, if you want him back, well, there's only one thing that will probably convince him, and that's that he loves this club. He would rather give blood or die than see this club get relegated or get into trouble. If he can help, I think he would, but it depends on Michel Preetz and his damn pride. The only other option is what? Bruno Labbadia? I don't know. Labbadia would at least stabilise the club. He has an idea of the way he wants to play football. It's kind of the thing. Every other club knows exactly how they want to play, except us. And that is a huge problem. We don't know what setup we want to play. We don't know what kind of football. It used to be under Ante Czovic, at least we knew the kind of football to play. Very quick attacking football, strong attacking football. Under Nuri and Klinsmann, I can't work out what they want to do. Defensively stable, and then what? You know, counter-attack, we can't counter-attack because we're too defensive. And then even against Cologne, we weren't even defensive. So what's going to happen? Who the fuck knows? All I know is that I'm going to Dusseldorf on Friday, and if we lose, well, we're only a bit lucky that Bremen's results are going to be really shit. Let's just hope we don't. I can't see it going well, because guess what? The fans are pretty annoyed. I've never seen the supporters this pissed off. And right now, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. If we end up in the second Bundesliga next year, I wouldn't be surprised. Das ist Hertha.